Hello everyone, I'm Shannon Kelly, Social Media Manager at the Toronto Real Estate Board.
And I'm Jason Mercer, the Toronto Real Estate Board's Senior Manager of Market Analysis.
Now Jason, we are well entrenched into the spring market, and generally around this time we see a peak in home sales. So how did we do in comparison to last year?
That's right, Shannon. Historically, we have seen the highest monthly sales in April, May, or June. And certainly if we look back at May 2014, we saw 11,079 sales through the Toronto MLS system. And this actually represented a new record high for the month of May. And so this result was up by 11% in comparison to May 2013. And if you look at sales growth across the Greater Toronto Area, number one, we saw strong sales growth for most home types, but number two, we saw stronger growth in the regions surrounding the City of Toronto. And I think part of the reason for this is the listing shortage that we have experienced within the city, especially for low-rise home types like singles, semis, and townhomes. So basically you have willing buyers who would purchase, but for the shortage of listings. And so we actually could have seen a higher level of sales this year if the listing situation had improved.
Jason, you raise a really good point. The supply of homes for sale, or lack thereof, has definitely been top of mind over the last year. So did we see that trend continue in the last month?
Unfortunately, yes. Both the number of new listings entered into the Toronto MLS system in May and the number of active listings at the end of the month were down on a year-over-year basis. Now, we've talked about the reasons for this in the past, but let's recap. Number one, if you think back to the 3 or 4 years leading up to the recession, we were actually seeing per capita sales above the long-term trends. So we saw households taking advantage of the initial wave of low interest rates, and some of these households simply aren't ready to move again. So they're not listing their home for sale, and obviously this feeds through into the supply issue. On top of this, provincial land use policy has precluded to a certain degree the development of new low-rise home types, singles, semis, and townhomes. So obviously this factors into the supply issue for this segment of the marketplace. And finally, in the City of Toronto, we have the additional land transfer tax. And so you have households that arguably are deciding to renovate rather than purchase a new home in order to avoid paying that large additional upfront tax within the city.
Now, the listing situation has not only affected, strong sales growth, but it's also affected strong price growth as well.
That's right. I mean, anytime you're seeing a constraint on the supply of listings while at the same time seeing sales up on a year-over-year basis, you're looking at enhanced competition between would-be home buyers in the marketplace. And so anytime you see this, then you're going to see strong upward pressure on the average selling price. And that's certainly what we saw in May. We saw the average selling price come in at over $585,000, which was more than an 8% year-over-year increase in comparison to May 2013.
And we'll be back with you in a month's time to see if this trend continues. In the meantime, you can still connect with us on social media at TREB Home on Twitter and on Facebook. And from both of us, have a great June.
Brought to you by GTA Realtors.